So if you followed the Andy Warhol series that I've been doing on the Academy, where we've been looking at in the style of, you'll know that I'm a massive fan of screen printing, going back to my early days in school many moons ago. And we created recently an updated action to kind of do a one-click kind of creation for a black print on a colored backdrop. And we're going to kind of take this to the next level, actually creating a piece of art. Now, look, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and you might like what I do, you don't like what you do. It's completely besides the point, you know. As far as art for art's sake, whatever kind of analogies you want to give and things, really, when you create things, you're creating them for you, or you're creating them for a client, whatever it would be, but it is for you. So you've just got to follow your kind of passions and loves and everything else with it. So we kind of ended the last film using this image as the creation of the action. We're going to get back to this now in a minute. But let me just escape out of Bridge for a minute and we'll go back to the Warhol. So basically in my series on the Academy in the early part of 2022, I was creating a series of images for print in a more kind of way that I would have expected to add color in. If you're used to the Warhol kind of esque images, you'll be used to, if I bring this up, just did a quick Google search. But you'll be kind of used to these images, and these were kind of brought to me in my head and my first vision by my art teacher, Miss Lace, around about the age of 15 years of age. And she kind of introduced me into screen printing. I then went on to kind of after school, night school art club, as it were, to actually follow more screen printing in where there was specialist kind of techniques and products and everything else. But if you're used to screen printing, basically it's making a mask and then you're putting ink through a screen to actually put as an overlay on top of each other and things, and they build up and up. But there is a natural crossing over of the ink as it bleeds, or bad cutouts, or bad registration and things, really. Okay, so if we're going to be seeing that kind of type of edging today, it is kind of, we can get away with it. This is kind of going to the next stage with a kind of a cartoon, and you can see all this on the Academy anyway, kind of thing. Right, let's go back to the images we're going to work on today, and we've already seen the kind of the basic, but let's start here, and perhaps we'll choose another image as well, perhaps of the girl that we just saw, and we'll kind of bring her in and we'll have a little play. So let's open up this black and white that we're used to anyway and create a bit of a montage effect. So let's double click to open her up. And then at this point, we just simply want to either make a selection around the subject. To do that, because we can be quite rough, I can either use the object selection and then click on select subject, or we could build into the mask a basically a remove background and then copy and duplicate and so on with it. But as is, pretty much we've created a simple selection here. If we disappear into the action palette, and we can see the screen print 23 is the one that we created. And if I just drop the toggle down here, you can see that layer via copy, remove background, hidden background. So because I've made a selection, which is usually what I would do when creating, rather than allowing a AI and automatic kind of do this to do something. So I want to actually select, it might be an object within an image or whatever it would be. So for me, I've made the selection. I'm going to duplicate, so Control J to duplicate that layer. And it's at this stage, if we go to the action palette, we can see that we've got a recording here that then starts to hide background. So before, layer via copy, remove background in that action that we made would have done pretty much what we just did, except it would have just looked at removing a background, whatever that would be. It could be a car in a street and it would have identified perhaps the car or whatever, but we've made that certain selection. So I'm going to play the action from here. And what it's going to do is go through the creation of adding some oil paint stylization to kind of blur and smooth. And then we're going to go into the likes of opening up the shadow information more. And then we go into the threshold and we create a kind of a threshold around about 120-ish, I think it was. And then we duplicated that layer, and we then went in and we double clicked on the threshold of the duplication of the layer to change it. I think we went up to close to 150 in the end, if I serve my right. If you haven't done it, you can actually just double click the threshold at this stage, and basically let it just open up. This is a smart filter as well with it and things really. So it was 150, yeah. But you can go ahead and actually change the amount of black. We were adding more black into the scene rather than less black in the scene. But the good news about this, because we did convert them into smart filters to begin with, we had the ability to go back and change these thresholds, which, as I said is about 120, didn't I? But we can go in. I need to just switch off that top layer so we can see it. Hang on a minute. Switch that one off. We'll double click the threshold again. And there we go. So we can kind of get more white in or more texture back in. It doesn't have to be as high as the 150, the blackness that we were trying to. So you can see as we're kind of pushing up here more, we're beginning to add more and more into the image itself and things really. So it depends on how much you want. But the 120-ish, 130-ish, as you can see here, is pretty good. So let's press OK to that. The one thing that the action did as well, it dropped in a full color fill layer, yes, which we can go in by clicking it, choosing another color. We can go in and change this in whatever way we want. But to be fair, we're really interested in the montage to kind of save this girl out. Before we do though, let's go back to the mask. So within the action, it's selected a brush, a hard brush, and it's put black on top. So that means I can start to paint immediately within the image itself. Let's switch it on, of course. And all I'm going to do now is start to paint detail back in. So in the second threshold, it would have added more black into the scene. So this is giving us more and more of the detail back, but it doesn't have to be at all and things. Do I want that? I don't want that black mark, or do I? Just pressing X will put it back in. Do you know what? I think we'll leave it there. Let's press X again. Just put a little bit of detail there in the hair perhaps. And paint it out the eye there, and we'll paint the eye back in. Okay, so we've gone in, and even from the action, we've made ourselves just that little bit more of a control, and I believe that's where we individualize things. I don't like that teardrop actually on the face, so I'm going to get rid of that. Right, we're pretty much there. And if I wanted to save this out straight away as a image, of course, I could just go into File and save a copy. In this case, we're going to in JPEG, so we'll just call this print screen 1. I'm going to press, I'll just create a new folder in that again, print screen. Double clicking it, I'm just going to press save 1. And there we go. Okay, so thank you very much, Photoshop. So at this stage, if I wanted to just have a series of different colors, I could go in now and just quickly do exactly what we just said. So File, save a copy, and this would be back into the print screen, and this would be select on this one, just so it steals the name, and then just change the number to 2. Pressing OK, and you get it by now. We could just go in and change the color. Press OK again, and File, save a copy. back into print screen, call that 3. So it's at this stage, the image is still a JPEG, but if I went to save it, yes, it basically says, hang on a minute, this is a Photoshop document now because it's multi-layered, all right? So I'm going to just copy this one into here, and we're just going to call it print screen. Kelsey. I'm pressing save. So I've actually saved this document with all its different layers and so on with it. When I do save a multi-layer document like I just did, as a rule, if I'm going to kind of just save it now and kind of come back to it, I will collapse the layers down. So that's just that little toggle arrow. That makes it a little bit neater on screen so we can kind of see it more and things. So if I just press File, Save now, it'll remember those layers are kind of closed down or collapsed, as it were. Okay, so really what I'm looking at, though, is making a kind of a 6 Little Girls, what I call my series. Began it in the 90s when I first got back into screen art kind of thing, but I was doing it in a Photoshop world, and I'd invested all this money into the likes of monitor and scanner and basically everything except for digital cameras, and I was learning Photoshop, so in the very late 90s and things really, and it was using kind of ideas that I did in school and kind of brought them up to date and things really. Right, what am I going to do? I want to make a series based on this girl. All right, so at this point I've just switched that colored background off, and I want to make a new layer based on the 2 visible layers here. So in other words, there's the one and there's the other one as well. Okay, so Shift Control Alt E, that is helps if you select the right one. Select the layer active, as it were. Shift Control Alt E will make a layer based on all visible. If I'd switched that pink on as well, and I did exactly the same thing, Shift Control Alt E, it would record the actual the background as well. Okay, but as is, I'm only interested in the girl. So if we Control A and we copy it, yep, and then we're just going to go into File, New, and at this point it's got our clipboard, yes. So let's just press Create, and you can see what it's done. It's just made the selection based on her. At this point, let's make a quick kind of change with the kind of the canvas size. We'll hit C for crop. We'll clear the actual resolution as such. Yes, so let's go back into crop again, and we'll just drag it out so we've got a little bit more space to work with. I'm not necessarily worried too much about how much space yet, and the reason being in that is that I want to ensure that when I output, I can then decide on what size it's going to be and so on with it. I'm just going to duplicate her now for a minute. So I'm just going to click onto the Alt key and drag her. And then basically what she's going on is being multiplied, and guess how many we're going to do? I did give you a hint, it's going to be 6. So I've got my auto select layer clicked on at the top here, which means I can click on any one of them and then drag it to be copied and so on. If I hit the crop tool now, of course, and I drag it out to the side, you can see I'm adding more space into the canvas size itself rather than going in and saying make this an image size and things really. So here we go. So we've got our images, and what are we going to do with it now? So let's try adding a solid color to, say, the left hand one. Yep. As far as organization, I'm going to realign my layers a minute. So I'm going to move the layer 1 actually up into the middle because that's where she is. the left-hand image, which is layer 1, copy 5 down to the bottom, and now you can see the diagonal. So from left to right, bottom to top is how these kind of images are working. Let's say I want to keep this layer without any changes to it at all. Okay, we're not going to do anything, we'll just work on it. So let's select the bottom layer first of all, and then we'll go in and add in a solid color. Let's go and choose a color, press OK to that. Now at this point, I only want it to affect the image below. So it's done that, as you can see, by using the Alt and then clip in between the two. It's just clipped the color to the selection. And now what we can do here is use a blend mode to kind of create the coloring on the image itself. So lighten and screen is going to affect the actual color itself. Yes, you can work your way through the others and they'll get slightly different effect. This is purely down to what you need to choose, what is right for you. There is no wrong, there is no right. Why? Because art's for art's sake, I was saying to you. So I'm just going to cheat for a minute. I'm just going to Alt drag up another one into here, but this time I'm going to clip it to the next image, double clicking into the color, and I'll choose another color, and I just go through it, and we're going to Alt click it now up again to drag it in, Alt click to clip it to the third image, double click into the color, choose the image once more, pressing OK. We're going to Alt click to drag it above the layer 5. Once more, Alt click in, double clicking again to go in, pressing OK. Should we go to a darker orange? Pressing OK, and then once more, whoops, cancel. Alt drag above, double clicking once more, choosing a color that we want, and then just that Alt click to clip again, and we've pretty much got our image. So we've already got a blue there, we're missing a pink, so let's go with the pink. Okay, great. So from this point on, we can technically do what we want. Do you remember I was saying about the clip in here? Well, we've already got a pink, so if we unclip it, what it will then do is basically color her, but it'll also add a color to the background as well. All right, if I clip it back again, it's going to hide the color in the background because remember, it's only being associated to here. If I want to add a white background across the whole image, if I select the bottom photograph, then I go into solid color, click into a white, pressing OK. We're just going to move this below. Yep. And that has added in our white background to the image itself. So at this case, as I said, you can kind of go in and play and do and change whatever you want to kind of create. But if we're going to create a print from it, a frame print from it, what are we looking to do? I would say that we need to now just basically find out what size we want to be doing. So in this case, let's head over to one of my suppliers, which is One Vision. I'm going to go into photo framing. I'm going to go next, choose the size. So this is the main thing that I want now. I'm probably going to be working on something like a 30-inch by something else. Or do I want to work on panoramic? And this will probably suit the image that we've done. So something like a 34 by 13 or a 30 by 15. Let's just see the natural size that we're going to have. So let's come back into Photoshop, and we're just going to go into image and image size. At this point, before I do anything, I'm going to unchecker the resample because I don't want to upsample or downsample the image. So when I unclick this one, it won't change the resolution. Okay, so in other words, we go to inches now, and we change this to 35 inches. Sorry, 30 inches. You can see what we've got now is a 30-inch by just short of 13, and that's what it's kind of giving us now. If we went back to One Vision, and we said the size. So if we want a 30 by, what is the standard size? So 11 or 15 here. So let's come back again into Photoshop, and we either need to reduce the height down or we need to increase the height up. So if we've set it into 30 inches now, I'm going to press OK. And then what we're going to do is go into image and then image size. Oh, sorry. And we're going to resample now. And at this point, we're going to not change the image you fill. We're going to go into canvas size, images, inches, and I'm going to add that into 15. I'm going to put it at the bottom of the frame. So that means all the extra white space is going to be at the top. I'm going to press OK. And then it naturally has kind of created the space above or whatever it would be and things. Now, obviously, it depends on your kind of look and feel. Is there a different image? So the 11 is going to be a little bit too high, as far as the girls are going to be too high in there. But if we were to have a 30 by 11, is it just simply reducing all the girls down? So let's come back into Photoshop again, because there is this big height difference above the image. And I think it would be better if it was closer. So if I just do Control Z, yes. And then what we're going to do is go into image and canvas size. And in this case, we want to make it inches. And we're going to go to 11 and press OK. It's going to give us a warning, but that's okay. We knew what we were going to do. So now what we can see is that it has basically done exactly what we asked it to. It's reduced it down, but I think I need to shrink all of these girls down together to make it fit just a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch the white background off for a minute, and then I'm going to do Shift Control Alt E again to make a duplicate layer based on all visible layers. Let's just move this to the top. And then we'll unclip that, of course. Then we'll go into just select all of the other layers of the girls, and we're going to put them into a folder, and we switch that off. So now if I switch on the white, basically what I've got is that one image, and all I'm going to do is Control T it, and I'm just going to slightly shrink the girls down a little bit, just to give me a headroom as well as a little bit of space left and right as well. And there we go, we're pretty much done. So in this case, obviously, if you wanted to add something weird into the background, textures, graffiti, you know, it is really down to you. Let's just go in and grab what color's not there? Yellow. So let's go and grab a yellow, pressing OK, and grabbing the brush tool. And we just go and actually kind of squiggle behind, filter, blur, motion blur. And we could go in and add another layer, choose another color. Let's go with a teal. And then once more, let's go into the blur and the Gaussian blur. Blur it quite a lot. There we go. And you can go, you know, is it an attraction or a distraction? Remember, I talk about that in photo critiques on the Academy quite a lot. For me, we've kind of just killed the image because we've overdone it, done it. So remember, this is a complete personal thing, isn't it? It's down to what is right for you. So in this case, I'm going to have the mount going around the image anyway. But we've got our photograph. So all I need to do, just like we did before, let's save this first. So File, Save. And on the computer, it's going to go into the print screen folder anyway. So 6 little girls. Reason I like multiplicity is just one of those things going back to, as I said, you know, back into the school years and kind of following through whatever you're doing. It's down to your choice. And now I just want to kind of create a JPEG of it. So I'm just going to save a copy, and this will be into a JPEG. I'm just going to press save. And let's just go in and switch that teal on again. And let's just fill it with blue, and we'll just save another one as well. So Shift, Control Shift S, and we're just going to put it into JPEG again. 6 little girls, and that is going to be teal. Now, if I wanted to dramatically change everything within this image, all I've got to do is click on to the adjustments and go into hue and saturation. And by opening this up, I can now move the hue and saturation, and I can create a complete collection of different images, color-wise, if I'm making up a series and things. So again, if you're making up triptychs, whatever you're doing and things. So if I want to go ahead now and order the image, let's just head back over to OneVision. And then we want it a 30 by 11, which is a print only. That's what we kind of set it out for. If we were to choose a mount size, you can see we might need to actually go back and readjust the canvas size or cropping size and so on with it. But it's the print only that we want for now. I'm just going to go next, upload the image then, check the actual crop that fits. I'm going to press OK to that one, and then we're ready to proceed and things. At this point, we get to choose what kind of paper. I'm a massive fan of Hahnemuhle, to be fair, and a massive fan of the photo rag. That's quite a rough paper as such, gives a good texture on it. You obviously need to do your own sampling and things really. And once I've done with that, clicking on to next. Then I usually go for the premium acrylic. If it's for myself in the house, it's house safe. If it falls off the wall by for any reason, I've got 5 grandkids running around the place, I know the glass isn't going to smash. If I'm selling it, it's probably going to be using the art glass. It does add quite a lot of money to the actual price, so be careful on that one. And because this is just for me, I don't need any packaging, just the normal kind of careful packaging that OneVision send out all the work in. But if it was going to be going out to a client, I'd add a box on top as well. Then I just need to log into my account, pay, and then it'll basically be shipped back to me within days. Of course, if you decide at any stage that you want to actually change the image, then of course we could just go back in, upload the likes of the teal, and you're getting a live preview on this screen here anyway. So hope you enjoyed that one. We'll follow it up with Sourcia, and we'll look at how we used one of the original Warhol one of my portraits, and how we used that through my Warhol series that I created. We'll look at it using this same technique as well.